Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 48-year-old California resident Erik Warner traveled to D.C. with a group of men who considered themselves at the time to be 3%er militia members. They denied that later in court, but the evidence showed that, yeah, they actually believed themselves to be members of this group. And then they organized with another group of self-proclaimed militiamen who had their own Telegram channel. The Telegram channel was called the California Patriots DC Brigade. So this DC Brigade channel said that it was to be utilized to organize a group of fighters to have each other's backs and ensure that no one will trample on our rights. And one of the group's leaders was a man named Russell Taylor. Russell wrote in his group, quote, "I am assuming that you have some type of weaponry that you are bringing with you and plates as well." And then another member of the DC Brigade channel talked about going to DC to, quote, "take care of business." This person also mentioned, quote, "time for talking is over," and, quote, "this is tyranny and our Constitution states we can put bitches 6 feet deep. Let's do it. There are not enough cops to stop us." So a member of the 3%er group, a man named Derek Kinnison, he went into the DC Brigade. He introduced himself and his other members, the other 3%er members, in the DC Brigade channel. And he told the members of that group that his group was going to be bringing, quote, "lots of gear," including, quote, "bear spray, knives, flags, plates, goggles, helmets." So the 3%er group made it known to these DC Brigade people, we're going to be driving. We're going to drive all the way from California to DC instead of flying because we're taking weapons. And the prosecutor says that the group did in fact take weapons. They had 5 handguns. They also had a shotgun. And they knew that they weren't allowed to. They had a conversation or multiple conversations amongst themselves talking about how they were not allowed to have weapons in DC. So at some point, Kinnison wrote on Telegram, quote, "We should clear all text in this chat the morning of the 5th, just in case for OPSEC purposes." Because, you know, you always clear your chats when you've done nothing wrong. So the 3%er group started planning for their trip in December of 2020. They were communicating in their own encrypted Telegram channel amongst themselves. And the group was repeatedly discussing things like war and soldiers and battle. And on December 31st of 2020, Warner messaged everyone in the group and he said, quote, "see you on the front line." And he included a skull emoji. And then on January 6th, Warner was seen on the Capitol grounds. He was with his friends. He was wearing a helmet and tactical gear. And he was carrying what the prosecutor described as a thick wooden pole. And he was carrying it like a baton. And he also had a can of bear spray. So despite seeing tear gas and hearing flashbang grenades, the group headed towards the Capitol. They were maneuvering through and past barricades. The barricades clearly had closed, area closed signs on them. And within 1 minute of the initial breach of the building, Warner was seen on surveillance video illegally entering the Capitol. He climbed in through a broken window. Now, he was by himself. For some reason, he had split off from the group. He climbed in. I will admit he exited almost immediately because he saw officers standing there. But Warner then walked around to other sides of the building and he was trying to enter the building again. Now, he wasn't successful, but he did try. He then headed over to the inauguration stage, and they say that he hung out there for about a half an hour. Then he moved around the Capitol grounds for about another hour, and then at some point he left. Then following the Capitol attack, Warner tried to delete all evidence of his crimes because he was seen in photos inside the Capitol. They were circulating on TV, they were online, so he was everywhere. And Warner deleted his DC Brigade Telegram group on his phone. He deleted all of his Telegram messages that were prior to January 27th. Also, he deleted all of his phone calls prior to February 17th. And he deleted all of his text messages before February 4th of 2021. He also sent his January 6 photos to a friend, and he asked that friend to put them on a flash drive so that he could delete them from his phone, but he could still have them. So the FBI was able to recover some of his deleted evidence. They did a forensic review of his device, and then they also were able to piece together additional evidence from contacts, his contacts, and from their phones, their apps. So Warner was also caught joking about the terror that he and his friends and everyone else caused on January 6th. He sent a photo from what you'll remember. It's that iconic scene from the horror movie The Shining, where Jack Nicholson had taken an axe and he was chopping down the door. And so he superimposed his face onto Jack Nicholson. And instead of the actress who was in the movie, Shelley Duvall, it was Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So she was seen screaming, in fear behind the door. So Warner was arrested on June 10th of 2021, and in a superseding indictment, he was charged with conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstructing an official proceeding, entering a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a restricted building or grounds, and tampering with documents or proceedings. So Warner and his friends refused a plea deal, and in November of 2023, they were convicted on all counts in a jury trial, and he faced up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. However, the prosecutor requested 8 years in prison, 3 years of probation, $2,000 in restitution, and a fine of $15,827. So that $15,000 and change, that was what he raised online through Give, Send, Go. The federal sentencing guidelines were much lower for his crimes and because he had no criminal history, but the prosecutor asked the court to impose a sentencing enhancement in his case because they said, it's a conspiracy. Also, he made false statements during the trial, and he showed no remorse. So at his sentencing hearing, Warner decided to change his tune. He decided to try to show remorse. He told the judge that he, quote, got caught up, and he apologized to the court, and Warner said, quote, I shouldn't have been there. And then he apologized to his family for putting them, quote, through hell. So U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth presided over Warner's case. Sadly, he was sentenced to only 27 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. The judge made no mention of a fine, which, like I said, was what he raised on Give, Send, Go. And I'm shocked, really, that this was so weak, that the judge was so weak in this case. He is usually much better than this. So I don't know. And as I've mentioned with his friends who also got to keep their money, at least that's the way it appears. It's just bogus. It's complete BS that you can make money off of your crimes. But, oh well, I mean, the good news is one less Trump supporter in November. The only caveat to all of this is if the Supreme Court decides that they cannot charge that obstructing an official proceeding crime in these cases. So as you probably all know, I've mentioned it with his friends' cases, the Supreme Court has been hearing arguments on that, or they heard arguments on that already. They will be making a decision sometime in the near future. And if they say no, this charge does not apply to these crimes, then this guy, like his friends, he's only going to be hit with the misdemeanors, which means he'll be out a lot sooner. As they say, elections have consequences, and unfortunately, Trump put several people on the Supreme Court who are, MAGA sympathizers. That's the way it goes. January 6th sympathizers. And it's just obvious. All right, guys, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.